Oh, hello, and welcome to another Second Breakfast podcast. My name is Philip Duvall. Andy Roth is going to be with you in a moment. But I wanted to say something first. I want to introduce this week's segment. We do our long form on Thursdays, and today we are doing another gauntlet. Every once in a while, one of our listeners, one of our viewers, brings us something so special. It's like a supersized mailbag written by one person. They throw down a gauntlet. They give us a series of questions, and they give us multiple choice answers we have to choose from. It hurts, folks. It's soul crushing. It is a whole different level of who Andy and I are, and it truly is. Well, it's a gauntlet, people. Last time we did one, I almost cried, and it hurt a lot. This one is a little bit more painless in one way. But here's the thing: it was such a good gauntlet. It was so big, so mega sized. We actually had to split it up into two. So today, you're only going to get the first half of the gauntlet. We're going to run the next half next Thursday, and you'll get two gauntlet weeks in a row. Which, if you didn't know what a gauntlet was before today, can you believe how excited you already are? It's amazing. Anyways, Andy is about to come back on. We're going to get going, and we really hope you enjoy this episode of The Gauntlet. Special shout out to Bobby Gottfried and some guy named Frodo, not the Hobbit, another guy named Frodo apparently, who constructed this gauntlet with steel and brawn. Well done. So I'm a little nervous for what's about to happen.
Are you? Are you a little nervous?
I mean, I always get a little bit I always get a little bit goofy for the gauntlets.
Sure.
You have a very different approach to the gauntlet, I think. I don't know why.
What would you say? What would you say my approach is, and how is it different?
You just seem like every time we're doing a gauntlet, you're like, cool, let's do this. Like, I'll answer all these questions, no problem. I'm always like, feel like I'm choosing from children.
Phil, I'm not gonna
Yeah,
let these people beat me. I'm not,
I know.
you know.
No, listen, listen, Andy, I'm gonna do the gauntlet.
Oh, I know you are, because I'm gonna make
But
you.
the scars are gonna show. I hurt a little bit. This gauntlet gets a little personal for me at points.
Interesting. I can't wait because I find that interesting. I wouldn't have assumed that. Certainly not to the level of the last one.
This is also the first gauntlet. Oh no, the last one just hurt my soul. That's
Sure.
different.
Right.
This gauntlet, this is the first time I've actually watched movies for the sake of being able to answer questions better.
Sure.
So like I actually was like, and we've got a sports gauntlet out there that we haven't done yet because there's like 12 movies on it I have to watch. But I'm gonna do them. I'm doing them. It's gonna happen. I'm gonna
I'm
have a
excited.
serious opinion about this.
I'm excited for that.
Also, just to the viewers, I don't know if you can. I don't know how good the definition is. Not actually that great. But I'm drinking a smoothie. This is my Rey Mysterio cup. He's one of my favorite wrestlers. He actually has a rosary tattooed on his chest, and then it says Mexican tattooed across his belly. Anyways, there's a smoothie in here, and I get these little seeds in my teeth. I hope it doesn't look gross. If you're listening, you're much better off. Let's gauntlet it up. I don't know. That's enough preamble.
Wow, guys! Welcome to Second Breakfast, where Phil goes insane and I'm just sort of along for the ride. Wow. Okay. So today's gauntlet comes to us from a good friend of the podcast, Bobby Gottfried, who, along with a friend of his, Jonathan Fridella, whose nickname Frodo,
As well, it should be.
as well it should be, makes both of them right at home here at Second Breakfast. So here we go. Gentlemen, the esteemed Jonathan Fridella, aka Frodo, and I have come up with a new gauntlet for you.
Gauntlet.
We hope this one will be more fun and lighthearted than your last, although let's face it, anything will be more fun and lighthearted than your last
Sweet Lord.
gauntlet. See, Keith, people who don't even have a reason to hate you for the last gauntlet that you put us through. Unlike Keith, we have only one rule. You must pick one of the choices given. After doing so, you are more than welcome to discuss choices we did not include that you may like more or feel must be included if you feel so inclined. And we know there are omissions, c'est la vie, when we limit ourselves to 3. Fair enough. Fair enough, Bobby. Fair enough, Frodo.
Yeah, jeez, Bobby, relax.
We look forward to
Just
your
tone
answers.
it down a bit.
We look forward to your answers and hope that you have as much fun going through it as we had writing it. Now on to the gauntlet.
The gauntlet.
Yes.
Bring it. Bring it on. I'm ready.
You're fine. You're seed free. You're good. You're good. First up, best cameo. I like this already.
Already great.
Samuel L. Jackson in Coming to America,
Yes.
John Hurt in Spaceballs,
Hmm.
or
Yes.
Matt Damon in Eurotrip. Now, for those who have not seen these movies, Samuel L. Jackson in Coming to America plays a guy who robs the knockoff McDonald's that,
McDowell's
yes, McDowell's that
attempts to rob.
attempts to rob and is incapacitated by Eddie Murphy's Prince Akeem with the pole part of a mop. And he is amazing and terrifying because he's Samuel L. Jackson with like the coked out eyes from the 80s. John Hurt in Spaceballs. It's a spoof on his scene from Alien, the chest burster scene. And Matt Damon in Eurotrip plays just a ridiculous punk rock guy who through song tells the main character, like, and when I say through song, I mean at like a backyard concert in front of hundreds of people, tells the main character that he has been sleeping with his girlfriend. So, and the song is called Scotty Doesn't Know. It's amazing. It is spectacular.
I have never seen Eurotrip.
Okay.
So wait,
Samuel
who's
Jackson,
John Hurt in Spaceballs again? John Hurt plays at the very, very end. He reprised. That's right. Okay.
Yes, he plays his character from yes.
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson, John Hurt, or Matt Damon. Phil, gauntlet it up. What's your answer?
Samuel L. Jackson, because it's his first role ever.
Is it really?
Yes, and if not, it is now. And and he's Sam Jackson, man. It's for me. Okay, so I've never seen Eurotrip, and I'm never going to, no matter what.
Fair enough.
So for me, it would be a toss up between that and John Hurt, and I think John Hurt is fantastic. I had seen that a dozen times before I actually ever saw the real Alien. So when it happened in Alien, I was like, oh, when I first saw Alien, I was like, oh, that guy's done. I recognize him from Spaceballs.
Nice.
Yeah. You?
Okay. I'm going to go with Matt Damon in Eurotrip, and let me tell you why. First, Samuel Jackson Coming to America, it's not a cameo in the sense, it's just a really small part. It's not like, oh, look who we hired for this role, right?
That's a fair point.
John Hurt in Spaceballs, I mean, once the alien bursts out of his chest, that moment really isn't about him because it does the "Hello, my baby" thing.
Really. Yes, continue.
But even more than that, I don't want this to be like a well, I've eliminated all the others because I do love all three performances in all three scenes. But Eurotrip, you will be stunned to learn, is not a good movie. Okay?
What?
I know. If you have a hat, hold on to it. Not a good movie. But Matt Damon's part is legitimately hilarious. The song is legitimately catchy, and it is used throughout the movie hilariously. By the end, it's like one of the characters' ringtones. It is hilarious. And he's like tatted up, and he's got all these piercings, and it's just the dirtiest song ever, and it's hilarious. So I'm going to go with Matt Damon.
I amend my answer to John Hurt based on the fact that I agree with you. Sam Jackson is not a cameo because he was not famous yet. So no one was like, hey, look, it's right. Samuel L.
Right. Totally. Okay.
I would say that we should be recognizing Don Amici and is it Burt Lancaster? No, it's not Burt Lancaster.
Ralph Bellamy.
Yeah, as Randolph and Mortimer from Trading Places in their actual cameo in Coming to America.
Yes.
That's really fantastic.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. I want to see Coming to America again.
All the time.
Right now. That might be our 24-hour movie festival.
I would actually be okay with that. That would be a good time.
I know. We'll talk about that some other time.
Indeed.
Ways that we punish ourselves.
Moving on. Best tearjerker.
Oh boy.
Schindler's List.
Oh boy.
Awakenings.
Oh boy.
Or The Color Purple.
Oh man, I can't root for The Color Purple based on the fact that nothing rhymes with it, and it drives me insane. No, that's a thing I just didn't mean at all. Color Purple was, yes, There were a number of movies that I watched so that I could catch up for the Gauntlet, and The Color Purple was one that I didn't get to watch and still have never seen. I wanted to watch it. It's 2.5 hours long, and it's not free on Netflix. I would have had to buy it for like $2 or something on Amazon. Well, whatever, it's fine. I'm not hurt. And Amazon Prime has this weird feature where you can rent it for like $2, or you can rent it for $3 high def.
Right.
Like, and clearly I'm gonna go with the bigger, like, I'm clearly a high def. No, I could be watching my phone. I'd pick high def. I'm such a jerk about stuff like that. I can't imagine that I could possibly act like I don't know the difference. And Netflix, I can't rent. I do one DVD at a time for Netflix, and that's Mel Gibson for the next year. I'm cooked.
It's true.
So I haven't seen Color Purple, which is too bad because Steven Spielberg is one of the most effectively manipulative human beings in the history of the universe. But luckily, he is. That's why 2 of the 3 movies listed under this are Spielberg movies.
I agree.
And Lincoln, try making me cry. Oof, jeez. He's really good at doing the righteous cry, like making you cry, being like, "That's right, man."
It's
like
true.
He's like, "Oh man." I don't consider Schindler's List a tearjerker, so I choose Awakenings. Here's what I mean about that.
Okay.
Schindler's List. Do you cry during Schindler's List? Come on, of course you cry.
Right.
Schindler's List is more like historical, trying to destroy you, crying, like shame on the world. Isn't this awful? And I'm still actually not making fun of it, and it's also 3 hours long, so it's more about an epic.
Yeah.
And all epics make you cry at some point. But I don't think the point, like, so for instance, I cried, how many times did I cry during Return of the King?
Right.
Like, at least 4?
Right. But you wouldn't consider that a tearjerker.
Tearjerker, right. Awakenings is a legit tearjerker. It is like designed to make you cry.
Yes.
It is one of the saddest things I've ever seen. And I haven't seen it, by the way, probably in 10 or 15 years, and I remember it perfectly. Like, I remember it came around, what year did that come out? I'm going to look that up while I'm talking. It came around at a time where, like, I was very impressionable and I saw it. It came out in 1990. I was 11.
Okay, I was going to say 89. Yeah, no, totally, yeah.
So I probably saw it like 4 or 5 times when I was that age, which
Oh
is
my
all
God.
age to like shove something into your brain forever.
Sure.
That was a big movie for me for Robin Williams as an actor and of course De Niro, because I was too young to have seen a lot of other De Niro things.
Yeah.
So, anyways, that movie is not fair to humanity. No. Awakenings, clearly the answer.
Okay.
Hey.
I agree with you. Schindler's List kind of not one of these things is not like the other ones, and Schindler's List kind of falls by the wayside for that reason. I'm going with The Color Purple, and let me tell you why. Because it is the first movie that I ever saw, well, maybe not, but certainly the first movie that I remember seeing my dad cry in.
Oh,
right,
oof.
Right, and I was like, I remember like, and I was, it came out, and I was an impressionable age, and I remember looking over at him and like, should I be crying? Should I be crying? I should be crying. And he stopped the movie, and he was like, Andy, I'm probably going to cry some more.
Right.
But you should only cry if you feel like crying. You shouldn't, and it was...
Right.
Yeah. And it's funny, I didn't cry once I was no longer trying to just emulate my father's tears. I didn't cry, but I have seen the movie since. And it is like you have attached electrodes to my tear ducts. It is ridiculous.
2 things are funny about that to me. One is when I was listening to Andy, when I was listening to Andy the movies that I hadn't seen for the Gauntlet, and I was like, I'm going to try to knock these out, which I saw 3 out of the 5 I hadn't seen or something. And I was like, these are the ones, and I was like, I'm going to watch. You might want to wait off on that. You might want to hold up. You were like, why don't you watch this one and this one first? And I was like, yeah, but I'm in Color Purple. And you were like, oh, yeah, no, it's a good movie. But you might want to be able to, I don't know, breathe or sleep after afterwards, so maybe not color purple.
You might want to be a little what?
Breathe or sleep in any way, shape, or form.
Nice.
Just live your life.
Nice.
You reminded me of two other things there. One is that when I was a kid, I used to go to the movies with my mom a lot.
Okay.
And when I would go to the movies with my mom, she would cry at movies. She would cry at anything, cry at the drop of a hat. But it would always, like, I didn't know how to handle my mom crying. Like, I didn't know how to process that my mom was crying about. So I would stare at her. Like, and she'd be like, stop it. Stop it. Don't look at me.
Nice.
She'd be crying. She'd be like, don't stop it. So that made me, that's funny that happened. That's pretty great. I forget what the other, oh my gosh, I know what I was going to say. I have a question for you, good sir.
Yes.
Are there tearjerkers? Because they said feel free to mention things that should have been on the list. Are there things that for you should have been on that list? What's the movie you've cried the hardest at?
The movie I've cried the hardest at, one of two. Either Ikiru, the Kurosawa movie that I
you told me about that, right?
And actually, interestingly enough, the single hardest crying I've ever done in a movie, probably the end of Life is Beautiful.
Oh, okay.
Because, and here's the story behind that. I was very moved as I was watching. I was like, I'm really moved by this film, but I'm not crying, and that's weird because by the time Life is Beautiful came out, I would cry at the drop of a hat. You know, if a movie moved me.
Yeah.
But it was like, it's weird that I haven't cried at this movie. And then the movie ends, and the little boy jumps out of the tank. He runs to his mother, and it's like, this is the greatest gift my father ever gave me. And I was crying so hard I was no longer human. I was like, there weren't even actual tears. It was just like, and it was a bad. It was a bad.
Okay,
scene.
I've got a Kevin Costner double dip for you.
Can't wait.
The first time I ever cried in the movie theater, Dances with Wolves.
Awesome, love it.
Okay, cried twice. Okay,
awesome.
I remember.
I know what the other one is. I mean, I'm guessing I know what the other one is.
I don't think you do.
Okay, tell me.
Well, what do you think it is?
Dad, do you want to have a catch?
Nope. You know why?
You have no soul?
No, Andy, because I hadn't seen that in the theaters. I saw that like a couple years ago for the first time. Like, I didn't see that until... No, and I cried. It was on the other night. Remember, I posted something on it, and I cried like a baby. But it's a different kind of crying. But it's not the hardest I've ever cried.
Fair. Okay.
The hardest I've ever... No, and that came on the other night, and I was like... I made this sound. Huh. Like, I actually made the sound, like, huh.
If you say the postman, this will be our last episode of the podcast.
I'd like you to try to guess which Kevin Costner movie made me cry harder than I've ever cried in the movie theater ever. I will give you a hint.
Please.
I was younger than I am now.
I hate you.
No, I went and saw it with my dad in high school. That gives you a range. Are you looking at the filmography right now?
I'm going to the filmography.
You don't have to. What's the heart? And so do you remember the first time you cried in the movie theater? Like, really cried?
You know, I don't. I don't think I do. I don't think I do remember it.
I remember being really proud of myself, like I'd accomplished something.
Was it The War?
No. It was, are you ready for it?
Tell me.
A Perfect World.
That was going to be my next guess.
I cried so hard that my dad asked me if we should leave the theater. I cried for the last 10 minutes of the movie straight. My dad was like, what year did that come out? You're looking at it. What year did it come out?
93. So
I was 14.
Yep.
And I cried so hard that he was like, do you want to step outside? And I was like, no. That is one of the most underrated movies I can imagine. I can't, like, it's a movie that, like, it does not ever get spoken about. And
I have never seen it.
Glorious. It is glorious.
Never seen it. I've never seen it.
This is a good Gauntlet question. All right,
Yeah.
let's move on. Let's move on. Oh, another one. This is a definition of a tearjerker that I hate.
Okay.
Mr. Holland's Opus. I hate it and I cry while I'm hating it, and I hate it while I'm crying. Singing "Beautiful Boy" with the sign language to your deaf son.
Oh, totally. Totally. By the way, you want to have some fun? Talk to a music or arts teacher, an arts high school teacher about the end of that movie, where the governor of the state, who might have something to say about funding to schools, plays in the orchestra and does not save that dude's job. Just mention it and then stand back, because
The problem with that movie is everything. That's the problem with that movie.
Everything.
It is perfectly designed to be evil. Okay, what's the next Gauntlet question?
Yes. Film series that would be the most different, for better or worse, if the first choice actor had accepted the role. Tom Selleck is Indiana Jones.
This is a fantastic question, by the way.
Yeah. Tom Selleck is Indiana Jones, Sean Connery as Gandalf, or Cary Grant as Bond. James Bond.
Oh, thank you. I was worried that you meant Allie Bond, a girl I went to school with.
Nice. I think my answer has got to be Connery as Gandalf. Gandalf has to be.
Yes.
And I feel like, because Tom Selleck, like, he and Harrison Ford are not completely different actors, right? Like, they are personality actors. They have that sort of insouciant grin about them. I mean, I feel like he may have been more outwardly jokey, whereas Harrison Ford, the humor was more subtle. But I don't think it would have been, and I do think it is better with Harrison Ford. But and Cary Grant, I mean, the things that you describe James Bond as, like lady killing, suave, charismatic, I mean, that's Cary Grant, right? I mean,
yeah. The Cary Grant Sean Connery thing is almost to me. That's not even a
right.
Not even an issue.
Whereas Sean Connery is always playing Sean Connery, and I love Sean Connery, but Gandalf needed someone who could disappear into the role, and Ian McKellen. Well, first of all, Ian McKellen is less well known, as he was a star when he took the part of when he.
It really would have been very
role.
similar to Alec Guinness as Obi-Wan Kenobi, like the biggest star playing that part. That would have been really interesting. Can you give me a Sean Connery doing a Gandalf reading? Can you give me like a line? I don't care which one, whatever you.
I can't. I don't do a good Connery.
Sure, your Sean Connery is so much better than mine. I have no Sean Connery. How do you think he feels now? Better or worse? That's all I got.
You talk about your answer to this question, and I'll think up a line.
All right. You get it ready for me. I was gonna say Tom Selleck but you hit it, which is I think that it would have been more. I think he would have been a more demonstrative Indiana Jones. I think he would have been a more dynamic Indiana Jones. But I need to think about this because I think it'd be kind of interesting to. I mean, I'm not going to go better or worse. I just think he would have been a more dynamic. But I'm really interested in how not dynamic Indiana is, except perhaps in Temple of Doom, where he's pretty freaking demonstrative. Where his stoicism actually kind of everything else around it is kind of goofy, and so his sort of stoicism or sort of deadpan works really well. But I mean, I think it would be a lot more broad if it was him. But I think you're right. I mean, I was gonna say that, but I think you're right. I think it's Sean Connery. I think for the reason you said, I think Sean Connery. You know what's interesting? I think he would have been. I don't know that he would have been as quiet. Gandalf is has this quiet. And I almost feel like Sean Connery, I don't think of Sean Connery as like the one who stands there purposefully. Maybe he is, though. I haven't seen enough Connery. But I feel like he wouldn't be able to just stop from being like, shut up over there, I'm sleeping. Right. Or something like, I don't know.
This foe is beyond any of you.
Huh? There it is.
Huh?
Run, you fools.
I
have no Sean Connery impression.
Oh, God, I'm just so
yours
bad
is better than mine. That's the sad thing. I like the idea. I think we need to bring up Christopher Walken as Han Solo.
Nice.
Eric Stoltz is back to are
Are there DVD extras of?
There's actual clips. I've never seen them because I don't watch extras and I don't know
But
Back to
that
the
is
Future. But yes,
that is an extra I would love to see. And I mean, everybody talks about it the same way. I mean, he like Michael J. Fox, the directors, producers, and Stoltz all talk about it the same way. It's like, yeah, he was fine. It just wasn't what we were going for.
right. But still, it's still like there's no way to pretend that doesn't hurt a little bit if you're the ginger
I'm sure
in that
that's true.
situation. And then obviously Ronald Reagan in Casablanca as Rick.
I'm not the biggest fan of Reagan as an actor. I just don't.
No one is. Wait a minute. No one is the biggest fan of Reagan as an actor. Okay.
I'm
People
trying to be
who
diplomatic.
Well, no, but I mean, here's the thing. The real question about Reagan is, was he a great president or not? The question is never, was he a great actor? Like, that is not. You can judge him as a governor. You can judge him as a president. But come on, as an actor, he was a B movie actor. I mean, he was a B movie actor. He had specific gifts and talents. But the difference between him and Humphrey Bogart, one of the 3 or 4 greatest film actors of all time, is not.
That's right. You're right.
No.
You're right.
So
moving on.
You're right. I know you're right.
You're right. I know you're right.
Okay.
Oh, I've been looking for a pair of red suede pumps. Best 90s movie president. Harrison Ford, Air Force One. Get off my plane.
No.
Bill Pullman, Independence Day.
Maybe.
Michael Douglas, The American President.
No. It's clearly Bill Pullman in those 3. If those are my 3, it's Bill Pullman.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I mean, it's Bill Pullman for me as well, because at the end of just the most manipulative science fiction, I mean, the stuff they put the dog through in Independence Day, and it lives. And it's just and then he just grabs it, and somehow the implication is that like that speaker is literally going around the world, because you've got like the Iraqi Air Force.
Are you suggesting it's not? I'm offended.
The Iraqi and the Israeli Air Forces like looking at each other and like joining forces, and then like the Bushmen in Africa somehow bring down one of the things with their spears.
Yeah.
I mean, it is absurd in the extreme, and I get goosebumps just thinking about that speech.
Today is our Independence Day.
We're going to live on.
Bill Pullman.
Oh.
Bill Pullman. Have you seen the Saturday Night Live sketch with I think it's Daryl Hammond as Bill Clinton when he's talking about he's reviewing Independence Day, and he's like it's about I can't do a Bill Clinton impression worth a dang, but he's like it's about a young handsome president filled with life who's got a daughter and a wife, and his wife dies, leaving him to run the world. I loved this movie. It's pretty classy. Daryl Hammond's Bill Clinton impression was pretty. Remember when Daryl Hammond came to Tufts came to our school for? Did you see Daryl Hammond?
I didn't. I remember that, but I didn't see it.
He made fun of our friend Jesse on stage. It was pretty great. So
fantastic.
So anyhow, he saves the world, and not only does he save the world, but he goes old school king. What does an old school king do?
Fights the battle himself.
Yeah, goes into the battle.
Totally.
He flies a plane. Come on.
And it's got anybody that Robert Loggia has to salute gets my vote. Mr. President, I'd like to know what you're doing. You know, like
I'm with you.
Right?
Randy Quaid in that movie is a vision. Okay, never mind. I don't care for Air Force One or American presidents. That was a very easy choice for me. I do think the best 90s president was actually not named.
Tell me.
Dave.
Oh my God, yes.
Kevin Kline. Come on. I once caught a fish this big. Everything about that movie, Dave. Dave is one of the Dave is one of the best movies. That's another one I would do on a loop. I would watch Dave 24 hours in a row. Easily.
Nice.
I love that movie. So good.
Charles Grodin in that movie. Get out of here.
Get out of here as fast as you can.
If I ran my business this way, I'd be out of business.
Yeah.
You are absolutely right. I am ashamed I didn't remember that myself. I'm ashamed every moment that I don't watch Dave because I'm wasting my life.
Right now, it's a shame.
Yes. So, moving on.
Yes.
Best Daniel Day-Lewis performance. Oh, Bobby, Frodo. You're the
Come
worst.
on, man.
The three that they offer. Interesting. Lincoln, There Will Be Blood, Gangs of New York. I can go if you need a second.
Please.
Okay. I think of those three, I think it's clear, and I'm not saying that it isn't overall, but I think of those three, I think I have to go with Lincoln, and I'll tell you why. I cannot think of another historical figure who has been played more times and always in the same way than Abraham Lincoln. I mean, whether it's a serious portrayal or whether it's the dude in Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, it's always roughly the same character. And you add that to the fact that he is, in many ways, like the single most important piece of like the American zeitgeist. He is what we think of when we think of American leadership. And he didn't do the expected thing. I remember the first time people heard him speak as Lincoln, it was like, why is his voice so high? Because everybody who plays Abraham Lincoln before that is like, 7 years ago, like, and party on, dudes. Literally.
I was just thinking that.
Right? Everybody, nice. Everybody does it the same way, and it's done well, but he wasn't just good and did it differently. He was revelatory and did it differently and paid it respect, and yet was something completely unexpected and new. So that's my answer.
Do you remember when I saw that movie and I was like, it turns out Daniel Day-Lewis might be the greatest American of all time, and he's Irish. But he might be the greatest American. He played Hawkeye from Last of the Mohicans. He played Lincoln. He played some other American. He played the New Yorker. I mean, he played all one. But this is the problem. If you chose any of these three, this is the best Gauntlet question so far, because if you chose any of these three, I wouldn't have an actual argument.
Sure.
I think I agree with you.
Okay.
I think I'll say Lincoln, but damn, if you said There Will Be Blood, I just here's what I want to say about There Will Be Blood, because I don't want to say too much right now about it, but I will say this. His character scares me when I think about him. And he is not a scary, like, it's not a horror movie. The other movie that came out that year with the scary character was No Country for Old Men, and Javier Bardem's character was terrifying.
Yeah, Anton Chigurh.
But he's meant to be.
Yeah.
I don't actually feel like the point, There Will Be Blood, the main character, he's not terrifying like a horror character. There's something deeply wrong.
Yes.
And like deeply wrong and fractured about his soul. That at the same time, there is something true and honest about him and real.
Yeah.
And it seems like the thing about Lincoln is it's almost like he couldn't be real because he's so amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Like the whole time he talked, I was like, well, we're gonna be okay. We're gonna be okay. Like, if he had lived through the rest of his second term, I'm not sure there'd even be racism anymore. I feel like he would just taken care of that. That's the way he made me feel.
Yes.
And then I would say, but his character at Jack in Gangs of New York is just bravura performance.
Yeah.
Like so everything. I think he embodied even now what New York thinks it is.
Yeah. Nice. Well said.
And I think Gangs of New York and Lincoln are similar in which he takes a movie that is not great and almost single-handedly makes it great.
Yeah. Yes.
Because Gangs of New York is not great, although there's a lot of great aspects to it.
Agreed.
It's a case of a movie not adding up to the sum of its parts.
Yes.
Lincoln, I think, is just a deeply flawed movie. In both cases, what he does is so beyond... He's so clearly the best actor alive. I don't want to talk about it anymore. Lincoln, move on.
Best food movie. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
Yes.
Babette's Feast.
Danish, no.
Sweeney Todd.
Willy Wonka Chocolate Factory. Move on. Why is this even a question? First of all, Babette's Feast. I was gonna I haven't seen it. I was gonna watch it. It's a 2-hour-long Danish movie. That can't be in the picture. There's got to be better choices than that. I'd rather watch the French movie Delicatessen because at least they're eating people. It's interesting.
Totally.
Babette's Feast. I almost watched it and I was like, I'm not going to do that to myself. No.
Nice. So
Sweeney Todd. Yeah. Okay. Whatever.
Right. My answer is also Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, but I want to point out another movie that is it's not about food, but it's totally about food. It's a movie called Big Night.
Oh, good call, Andy Roth.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
I figured you. I figured.
Well, the whole soundtrack is Louis Prima.
And he's a part of the plot too.
Yeah.
Tony Shalhoub and Stanley Tucci play brothers who run a restaurant, and they are putting on a very important dinner for Louis Prima. And things don't go according to plan. And I don't want to say anything more about the plot, except the next morning the movie ends with one of the brothers making the other one eggs. And it is one of the greatest... Are you
going to cry right now?
It is, maybe. I'm a sap. I am a wet...
Too. I might cry. You describing it. Might cry.
Right? It is one of the most beautiful closing scenes that I can remember, and there are no words. It is literally a character making eggs for the other character. That, right there, food, family, and fun. Right there. Yeah. It's brilliant.
In the Hall of Shame is Bye Bye Love, which is a terrible Paul Reiser, Matthew Modine, Randy Quaid movie, and with Jenny Trini and Garofalo, which has the whole movie is basically set at McDonald's.
That's horrifying.
It's the other end. Look, here's the deal of the three that we were given. Here's the deal: Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. I haven't seen Babette's Feast. Disqualified. Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is actually about food. Sweeney Todd's not actually about food.
True.
It's a byproduct. Willy Wonka, there's something magical about the food. Also, it created one of the most magical. Gene. Oh my gosh.
Wilder.
Well, how did that happen? That's a brain. That's a total. I think I might have just had a little. I had an episode. My grandma would call it an episode. I had an episode. So my grandmother is a Jewish grandfather, apparently. Gene Wilder in that movie. Everything about it is amazing. It's and it's about food, like loving candy. Just shut up. It's Will.
Yeah, totally. Moving on, shall we?
Moving on.
Yeah. Best gender bender movie: The Crying Game, Tootsie,
yep,
or Mrs. Doubtfire.
Okay. You go first.
Tootsie.
Say more.
Tootsie. It is Tootsie. We're done here.
We're done. Get out.
The Crying Game is fine once the gender bending secret it's not the most rewatchable movie in the world. Mrs. Doubtfire is adorable. It's just great. But Tootsie is on the short list for greatest comedies of all time. It is brilliant. Brilliant. Dustin Hoffman, Bill Murray, everyone in that movie is Jessica Lange. Yes. She's just amazing. And she's amazing. Tootsie, all the way. Love that movie.
Bill Murray is so great in that movie.
So good.
This is an interesting category for me because I actually had only seen Mrs. Doubtfire, so I made a point of seeing, which I've seen so many times.
so many times.
It's in that same era. It's in that era of movies where I was a teenager and it came out and I saw it with my mom.
Yep.
Right during or after my parents split up, and the first 10 minutes of that movie is them in the courtroom and the divorce. My mom and I were crying so hard. And I remember her being like, "That's not fair. Like, you're supposed to cry at the." And I remember thinking, and I looked at her and I go, "You're supposed to cry at the end of the movie, not at the beginning." You know what I mean?
And then you saw Up. So,
Oh Lord. Those are the two. Yeah. But I saw both Crying Game and Tootsie this past week for the sake of this gauntlet.
nice.
I thought Crying Game was fascinating. I also think it belongs in a category we're going to do later. I'm surprised it's not in that category. And Mrs. Doubtfire gets a lot. People make fun of it a lot,
Yep.
but it is burned in my psyche forever and ever and ever.
Sure.
Tootsie is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen, and I can't believe I've never seen it. And I saw it this week, and it blew my mind.
Yep.
I'm not used to comedies that are just it's so well made.
Yeah.
It's so. I went online having to look at what won because it wasn't fair, and unfortunately, Gandhi won, and Ben Kingsley as Gandhi won. And it's like, how do you root against Gandhi? It's like rooting against Abe Lincoln. I mean, it's like
Indeed.
how do you it's like those people who were like it's like people who fought against Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Just stop. You can't.
You're embarrassing yourself.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Talking about you, Mississippi. So Mississippi still celebrates Robert E. Lee Day on the same day as it's coincident with Martin Luther King Jr. Day.
I can't even.
I just wanted to say that out loud to you.
Right, just put it out in the world.
I have a friend who lives in Mississippi who may or may not hear that and deep down, and he'll just be like, "Why did you do that? Why do you bring that?" And he just gets because he's a good man, and that would infuriate him to think about. It single-handedly redefined the way I think of Dustin Hoffman.
Yeah.
Dustin Hoffman is a legitimately great actor that I have never cared much for.
Sure.
And I thought he was so perfect in this that it made me reconsider everything else he's done.
Nice.
I can't imagine he brought so much depth and nuance to that character. I wasn't prepared for how much I would love it. I was pausing it and rewinding it during the film watching of it, just so I could rewatch scenes while I was watching it.
Yeah.
I don't ever do that. Bill Murray as a supporting actor was genius, perfect, spot on.
Yes.
Every character is great. Every single person.
Yes.
It is a solid comedy. It is one of the best things I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing I want to say about it.
Please.
It calls into question you can watch it today 30 years later and it's still basically making you think about like gender differences. And I mean it isn't just for laughs. It actually makes you think about like he gets into the idea of what it means to be a woman, making him a better man, and like him actually thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's also, and this is tricky, movies about backstage on television or movies are oftentimes really insider and obnoxious. This is not at all.
No, it is not.
Completely accessible.
Yes.
Bonus, it has a terrible score.
The only thing I'll add, because I'm completely in agreement with everything you just said, the movie I wish had been the movie I wish had come in second to Tootsie. I wish it had been included probably instead of the Crying Game, because I agree it should be coming up in a later category. Some Like It Hot.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's
Yes.
it's just, I mean, it has maybe the greatest final line in movie history, and
Woody Allen, by the way, called that movie the most overrated comedy of all time, and he doesn't think it's funny.
I disagree with Woody Allen.
Yeah, sometimes we disagree with Woody Allen. It happens.
Sometimes you do. And even if there weren't a single funny line in that movie, it gave us, if you think of Marilyn Monroe.
It's because of that. It's the way, yes.
And you don't think of the great blowing up her skirt,
right,
or Happy Birthday, Mr. President.
Right.
If you think of anything other than those two things, it is from Some Like It Hot. It just is.
With you.
Yeah. Moving on.
Moving right along. Oh, but I thought The Crying Game was really, really good.
Yes. It's not a bad movie.
I saw it last night, and I'm still trying to figure things out about it.
Sure.
Not in the sense of like, what was this mystery? Just like, there's some real interesting dynamics.
I agree with that.
When Stephen Ray's character realizes what he realizes, and then continues the relationship anyway, but not like in a like, oh, who cares? Like it's legitimately
interesting.
It's about love in a
Yes.
very fascinating way.
Yes.
I would watch that again. Continue next.
Moving on.